It was a crisp November morning in Buffalo, the kind that painted the streets with frost and made people tuck their chins into their scarves. The sun was trying to break through a ceiling of pale clouds, but the light that trickled down felt thin and cold. For many in the city, it was just another Tuesday, another day of rushing to work, warming hands on takeout coffee cups, or catching buses that ran along the arteries of the town. But for one woman, a bus driver named Darnell Jackson, we'll call her that here, it would be a morning that changed her life and the life of a stranger forever. Darnell had been driving the number 5 bus route for years. She knew the streets by heart, the rhythm of stops and starts, the regular passengers who greeted her each morning, and even the quirks of the aging bus itself. Her colleagues described her as steady, calm, and unshakable, and yet, she had no idea that within the next hour, she would be tested in a way she never expected. Not as a driver, but as a human being. The route took her across the Scajaquada Expressway, over bridges that looked down onto stretches of water and steel. It was just past 9 a.m. when she noticed something unusual. A figure standing alone at the edge of the bridge railing. At first glance, it might have looked like someone admiring the view. But something in the posture, the way the figure leaned forward, arms clutched around themselves, triggered an alarm deep in her chest. The woman was young, maybe in her 20s. Her shoulders trembled under a thin jacket, and her shoes, canvas sneakers, were untied, laces trailing dangerously close to the edge. Darnell's hands tightened around the wheel. She glanced at her rearview mirror, at the dozen or so passengers chatting quietly or staring at their phones. The bus was humming with routine life, but outside on that bridge was something entirely different. Her instincts screamed, "Stop!" Training manuals never mentioned this kind of situation. Bus drivers were told to stay on schedule, to keep safety first, to avoid sudden stops that might jolt passengers. But there are moments in life when rules blur, when one human cry outweighs 100 regulations. Darnell eased the bus toward the curb, flicked on the hazard lights, and stood up. "I'll be right back, folks," she said, her voice steady though her heart raced. "Give me just a minute." Some passengers exchanged puzzled looks. Others hardly looked up from their screens. No one yet understood that a life, an entire future, hung just a few yards away. Darnell stepped out of the bus, the cold wind biting her cheeks. Each step toward the young woman felt heavy, as though she was walking through water. "Hey there," she called gently, not too loud, not too sudden. She knew instinctively not to startle her. The woman turned her head slightly. Her face was streaked with tears, her eyes red and vacant. She looked more like a child than an adult, fragile in the vast emptiness of the bridge. "Don't come closer," the woman said hoarsely. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried all the weight of despair. Darnell raised her hands slowly, palms open. "Okay, I won't. I'm just here." For a long moment, there was only the sound of cars rushing below, the cold wind tugging at coats, and the unspoken fear that this fragile soul might let go. "What's your name?" Darnell asked softly. The woman shook her head. "Doesn't matter. It matters to me," Darnell replied. "I'm Darnell. I drive this bus every morning, and I've seen a lot of people, but I've never seen anyone standing out here like you." "You're special," the woman gave a bitter laugh. "Special? I'm nothing." "Nobody cares. Nobody would even notice if I was gone." Darnell's throat tightened. She wanted to rush forward, to pull the girl away from the edge, but she knew this had to be gentle, careful. "Words could be lifelines, too. I would notice," she said firmly. "The people on my bus would notice. The people who haven't even met you yet would notice. Because there's only one you in this whole wide world." Tears slipped down the young woman's face. "I can't do it anymore. I've lost everything. My job, my apartment, my family doesn't want me around. I can't fight anymore." Darnell took a careful step closer, her voice trembling with compassion. "I don't know all you've been through, but I know this. You're still here. You're still breathing. That means your story isn't finished yet, and I promise you, it can change." Inside the bus, passengers were peering out the windows now, realizing something serious was unfolding. A teenage boy pressed his phone against the glass, recording quietly. An older woman clasped her hands in prayer, A man in a business suit muttered, "God, let her come back." No one complained about the delay. Time itself seemed to hold its breath. The young woman clutched the railing tighter. "You don't understand. I don't want to be a burden anymore." Darnell shook her head, her voice fierce now. "You are not a burden. You are a blessing. You might not see it right now, but one day you will. There are people out there who will need you, who will love you, who will thank God you're still here. But only if you step back, only if you give yourself that chance." Silence stretched between them. The girl's knuckles were white on the rail. The water below roared. Finally, Darnell whispered, "Please, just take my hand. That's all. One step and I'll be right here with you. You don't have to do anything else today. Just take my hand." Her arm stretched out, palm open, trembling in the cold. The young woman looked at it, her lips quivering. Seconds felt like hours. Then, slowly, with a broken sob, she reached out and placed her hand in Darnell's. The relief was so intense it almost knocked Darnell to her knees. Gently, she guided the woman away from the edge, wrapping her arms around her in a fierce, protective hug. "You're safe," she murmured into her hair. "You're safe now." The bus erupted in cheers, claps, tears. A few passengers rushed off to surround them, offering coats, scarves, tissues. Strangers became family in an instant, united by the fragile miracle they had just witnessed. Police and paramedics soon arrived, called by a passenger. The young woman, whose name was revealed to be Maria, was taken to the hospital for care. Before she left, she clung to Darnell's hand one last time. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes wide with a mixture of exhaustion and gratitude. "You saved my life," Darnell squeezed back, tears streaming down her own cheeks. "No, sweetheart. You saved your own life. I just reminded you how much it's worth." News of the event spread quickly. The video the teenager had recorded went viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments praising the Buffalo bus driver hero, but Darnell brushed off the fame. She told reporters, "I didn't do anything extraordinary. I just stopped and cared. That's what we're supposed to do for each other. That's what makes us human." In the days that followed, people across the city reached out to Maria. Offers of help poured in: housing, job opportunities, counseling support. She was no longer invisible. She had a community, and all because one woman chose to stop her bus, step out of routine, and reach across the silence with compassion. When asked later why she did it, Darnell said something that stuck with many. "We drive past people every day. People on sidewalks, at bus stops, on bridges, and we don't always see them. Really see them, but if we looked closer, maybe we'd notice someone on the edge, someone who just needs a hand. And maybe, if we're brave enough to stop, we can be the reason they choose to stay." The story of the bus driver hero isn't just about one act of kindness. It's about the truth that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they let their hearts lead. No one expects to become a hero while driving a bus route. No one plans to be someone's last hope. But when the moment comes, it isn't training or fame or power that matters. It's compassion, courage, and the willingness to pause. That morning in Buffalo, one woman's choice lit a spark that spread far beyond the city. It reminded people everywhere that kindness is not complicated. Sometimes it's as simple as stopping, reaching out and saying, "Take my hand. You're not alone.